Hi everyone, this video we're going to be talking about different types of government around the world. This lesson follows our lesson on why do we have government. You should remember from that lesson a few things, or key concepts of the state of nature. This is the concept of what it would be like without a government. It's chaotic, it's dangerous. We need government to end the state of nature. We've also talked about the social contract. In the social contract theory, especially put forward by John Locke, it's a two-way partnership between citizens and their government, in which the people agree to give up some of their rights and power in exchange and agree to follow the laws. And in exchange, the government agrees to use their power to create laws to keep people safe. The government also agrees to not abuse the people. So today, we're going to look at what different kinds of government there are. You can also follow along with this reading if you had printed it or opened it in another tab on the classroom. It's called Who Rules? Someone's got to be in charge. If you compared all the governments in the world, you would find one thing in common. Someone is in charge. The question is who?
All students on both.
There are many different forms of government. Some have one leader who have all control. Others give power to the people. Here are some of the forms of government that exist or have existed in the world. So the first section are these me, myself, and I governments. And I want you to think about what each of these next three governments have in common. In the first type, we have an autocracy. An autocracy is a government in which one person has all the power. There are two types of autocracy, a monarchy and a dictatorship. So both monarchies and dictatorships are autocracies because one person has all the power. In a monarchy, a king or queen rules the country. The king or queen is known as a monarch. Monarchs usually come to power through their family line. The current king or queen's oldest child becomes the next king or queen. In some monarchies, especially those in historical times, the monarch held all the power and had the final say over the government. In modern times, monarchs usually share power with other parts of the government. Often they're subject to the country's constitution. So, for example, in England, it's called a constitutional monarchy because, yes, there is the king and queen. I mean, it's really just the queen, but she doesn't really have a lot of the power anymore. It's the parliament that is really the one making the laws. So in today's day and age, especially in Western countries, the monarchs are kind of more like symbols of the nation, and they're not truly the ones in power. That's a monarchy. Again, it's an autocracy. A dictatorship is a form of government where one leader has absolute control over citizens' lives. If there is a constitution, the dictator has control over that too. So it doesn't mean much. Although other parts of the government may exist, such as courts or law-making bodies, these branches always do what the dictator wants them to do. They do not represent citizens. Okay, so in a monarchy, this is maybe definitely a better situation, right? The monarchy usually has to play by the rules, and they usually share power with other groups in the government, other functions of government. But in a dictatorship, that's the government where that one person has complete control over citizens' lives. Those two are our autocracies. Then we come to the next type of government, power to the people. In a democracy, citizens hold the political power. There are two basic types of democracies. Okay, two basic types. In a representative democracy, citizens elect leaders to represent their rights and interests in government. That's why it's called representative, right? Because you're electing people to represent you. The elected leaders or representatives do the day-to-day work of governing the country. They consider the issues, work to find solutions, pass laws, and do all the other things necessary to keep a country going. Citizens hold the ultimate power, though, because if they don't like what their representatives are doing, they can vote in new ones. So that's a representative democracy. America is a representative democracy. The other type is a direct democracy. In a direct democracy, there are no representatives. Citizens are directly involved in the day-to-day of governing the country. Citizens must be required to participate in lawmaking.
All students on bus 31 and 13.
I picked the wrong time to film this video. Citizens might be required to participate in lawmaking or act as judges, for example. The best example of this was in the ancient Greek city-state called Athens. Most modern countries, though, are too large for a direct democracy to work. You could imagine, in a direct democracy, if that's what we try to do in America, nothing would get done. Nothing gets done anyways, but it would just be much too difficult to have every citizen literally vote on every single issue. That'd be very hard. So now we get to something kind of in the middle. We, ourselves, and us. In an oligarchy, a small group of people has all the power. Oligarchy is a Greek word that means rule by a few. Sometimes this means that only a certain group has political rights, such as members of one political party, one social class, or one race. For example, in some societies, only noble families who own land could participate in politics. An oligarchy can also mean that a few people control the country, right? Oli is a few. For example, a junta, or a small group of people, usually military officers, who rule a country after taking it by force. A junta often operates much like a dictatorship, except the several people share power. So we look at this image over here. Prayut Chan-o-cha is Thailand's prime minister and the head of the military junta that took over the country in 2014. So an oligarchy, it's like halfway between like maybe a democracy and an autocracy. It's not just one person ruling, which is the autocracy, but it's something in the middle. Then we get religious rule. A theocracy is a government that recognizes God or a divine being as the ultimate authority. Theo is a Greek word that means God. In a theocracy, religious law is used to settle disputes and rule the people. A theocracy can also be a democracy, dictatorship, monarchy, or just about any other kind of government, for example. The key is that religion. For example, the Republic of Iran recognizes Islamic law, but Iran's citizens vote to elect their leaders. Modern theocracies are usually found in countries where the population is strongly religious. This picture of the supreme leader, Hosseini Khamenei, is Iran's chief of state and holds many powerful functions of government. So certain other types of governments can also be theocracies at the same time. It's only going to be a theocracy, though, if the ultimate ruler is God or some kind of divine authority. Then we get rule by none. Remember, this is actually a symbol that we looked at a little before, the A inside a circle. In an anarchy, nobody is in control, or everyone is, depending on how you look at it. Sometimes the word anarchy is used to refer to an out-of-control mob. When it comes to government, anarchy would be one way to describe the human state of existence before any governments developed, right, or the state of nature. It would be similar to the way animals live in the wild, with everyone looking out for themselves. Today, people who call themselves anarchists usually believe that people should be allowed to freely associate together without being subject to any nation or government. There are no countries that have anarchy as their form of government. So when you come down here, this is an awesome chart. Who rules, right? If no one rules, it's an anarchy. If one person rules, it's going to be a monarchy or a dictatorship. If a few people rule, it's going to be an oligarchy. But if everybody has power, then that's a democracy. And again, we have our two types of democracy, the direct democracy and the representative democracy. So I hope this was helpful. Remember, if you want to refer to this reading, you can also just find it on the Google Classroom, but I wanted to record a video going through it as well. Hope this helps.